Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Mr. J with W.a.D MTG. I'm coming at you again with another wild-ass deck tech. I'm waiting for the next round. I'm on break between the World Championships in Vegas. I'm watching that live stream while I'm sitting in my truck. And I just figured it would be a good time to do this because I've been messing with my decks today. So I'm going to do another wild-ass deck tech on Zurgo Helmsmasher. This is my Equipment Voltron deck. Before I get into the actual deck tech itself, as I was going through the deck, I seen some issues or whatever where I can make upgrades. Like I did an upgrade video on a Nixia earlier and swapped out 6 cards. So in this deck, when I was going through, I seen 4 cards that seemed like they might belong, but there's really no reason for them to be in the deck. Now, originally, when I wanted to build Zurgo, I looked at him as, oh, well, he looks a lot like the Pale Orc from Lord of the Rings or from The Hobbit. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to give the deck some Lord of the Rings flavor, and also along the way, it's got some Fallout flavor too, because the talismans are like the comics, right? Are like the comics from Fallout. And one of them's a barbarian comic. What is it called? Ragnarok or whatever, the barbarian. So I like the idea of Zurgo reading, a Ragnarok comic, and and doing his thing. So it actually, this deck actually has Lord of the Rings flavor and Fallout flavor. Now, I did that to a lot of my decks because all the Universes Beyond recently, I kind of wanted my decks to incorporate the Universes Beyond products in such a way where it was like, oh, well, the Omen passive opened up and it kind of shred a tear in the multiverse, and now these different classic characters in Magic have access to these other worlds, or are now interacting with these other worlds. So that was the take I took when I built Zurgo. But while we're going to get into it, this is what I noticed in the deck. I put an Infinite in the deck, and it's a casual deck. It's a 7. It's a strong 7. It doesn't often win, but it does kill. It does kill people often. But it doesn't very often win, because I threaten one player, I kill him, I'll threaten another player, and I'll either kill him or I won't kill him. And in the process, people get scared of Zurgo. Big dumb orc does big dumb things, and they jump me, and then I often die. So the deck usually gets second or third, but I kind of feel like I've done my thing if I get to kill one person, and that happens like 95% of the time with this deck. So while we're getting into it, let's try to make it a little bit better. Okay, so as I'm getting into the deck and looking through it, I see, oh, well, I threw this guy in there because he's a dwarf, and I wanted some Lord of the Rings flavor. Cole the Forge Master for a red and a white. He's a dwarf warrior. Legendary creature. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return the creature to its owner's hand. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. Now, this deck doesn't really make many tokens. It makes some tokens, but it doesn't make many. But the whole reason why it's in there, really, is because it's a dwarf. For the Lord of the Rings flavor, and because of the Lotus Ring combo with Fervent Champion. So with Fervent Champion on the field, it's a 1/1 for 1 red. For a strike haste, whenever it attacks, another target attacking knight or you control gets +1/+0 till end of turn. The important ability here is equipped abilities you activate that target Fervent Champion cost 3 less to cast. Lotus Ring costs 3 to activate. So it costs 3 less to activate. It equips for 3, so it equips to Fervent Champion for free, even without another card on the field that allows me to equip for free. So you pay it for 3. It's indestructible. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 as vigilance, and sacrifice this creature. Add 1 mana of any color. Equip. So on curve, you can turn 1 Fervent Champion, turn 2 Cole the Forge Master, turn 3 Lotus Ring, equip to the Fervent Champion for free. It's swing with a 4/4 first strike, vigilance, haste, and then go to your main phase 2 and activate the Lotus Ring ability. Tap him, sacrifice, add 3 mana of any one color. And you just call red first, and then because he died and he was equipped, he returns to your hand. For 1 red, you replay him. and then you re-equip and tap and add white and then add black, and you just repay them for the one red that you still have floating until you don't have no more red, and then you do it again for red until you make infinite mana of all your colors. Now, it's a 3-card combo in a casual deck that doesn't really need the combo. The thing is, there's no infinite mana outlet in the entire deck. Literally, the deck is just trying to kill people with Zurgo, and it's got other like support cards for equipment, like classic support cards for equipment decks and things that a little bit of interaction and stuff like that. So there's really no point to have the Lotus Ring Fervent Champion Cole the Forge Master combo in the deck at all. Now Cole the Forge Master could still go in the deck, because if they target one of my equipped creatures and he dies, it returns his hand. But without Cole the Forge Master, I free up 3 spots in the deck right there for whatever 3 cards I want. So that's what I've decided to do. Now, Halver, God of Battle, is another alternative to Cole the Forge Master, right? So the God of Battle is for 2 and 2 white. It's a legendary creature god. It's a 4/4, and creatures you control that are enchanted or equipped have double strike. And at the beginning of combat, you may attach target aura equipment attached to a creature you control to target creature you control, so you can move it around with his ability. That's awesome. I'm not taking that out of the deck. And on the flip side, it's an alternate line for the combo, an alternate line for the Cole the Forge Master combo. So it becomes a legendary artifact equipment for 1 and a white, where equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance. Whenever equipped creature dies, return it to its owner's hand. So as long as you can play the sword and have 2 white available, because Fervent Champion reduces equipment cost by 3, it reduces the colorless, and you can re-equip for white, then tap, sack, add 3 red, replay the champion, re-equip with with a white that you have available in your lands, tap, re-equip, sacrifice them again for white, and then you can keep going through that loop as long as you can play the sword, equip the sword. So you have to be able to play the sword and have 2 extra white with Fervent Champion and Lotus Ring on the field. But what's the point of making infinite mana if I have no infinite mana outlet? There's no point whatsoever. So we're going to just go ahead and throw Halver, God of Battle, right here in the top there, because we just went over him. And we're going to keep him in the deck, but we're going to remove these 3 cards. So we're going to take these 3 cards out. Now, I pulled out some cards for my stuff while I was watching the last standard match to see who advanced or whatever, getting to the finals. It's in the top 8, so I'm probably going to miss a match here while I'm going through this deck tech, but I'm going to try and do it quick. So we'll get to the upgrades. 3 cards is upgrading. So I took out all these cards as potential possibilities to throw in over those 3 cards. Now, the 3 I chose are over here, but we'll talk about the other ones real quick. W.a.D Spike, it's an equipment where whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half their life rounded up. Well, Zurgo kills with commander damage, so I really don't care if people lose half their life. Doesn't matter to me whatsoever. So W.a.D Spike is out. And then we got Terran Soul Cleaver, nice foil art. It's a 1-drop equipment. It gives creatures vigilance. Whenever another artifact or creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, gets +1/+1, so it can build up over time, and equips for cheap 2 for 2. Beautiful card, but I don't really care if Zurgo has vigilance in this deck. This one, however, is a harder turn down. Arm Mounted Anchor for 3 mana. Its equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has menace. Well, the whole theme of the deck is swords, and to get Zurgo to like 11 power, give him double strike so he can TKO people. There's other things he can do. Basically, he's trying to kill with commander damage, and everything else is there to support him. And if they keep removing Zurgo, I have other creatures that can be equipped and still present threats late in the game if I can't replay Zurgo. So this one actually is a little more like tantalizing because it gives him menace. Now it's the 2, so if I has 2 equipments on him, it becomes a 9/9/4, and then an 11/6, and that's the magic number, right? So it's almost like a sword, and it gives him evasion. And then whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw 2 cards. Then discard 2 cards unless you discard a pirate card. There's no pirates in the deck, so basically it's draw 2, discard 2, and it give me some card selection, and then equip 2, and it costs 2 less to activate if you have 1 or fewer cards in your hand. So that's actually kind of a tantalizing card. It's in the maybe ballpark. So I'll move it over here, right? Then I have this Forebear's Blade. For 3 mana, equips for 3. Equip creature gets +3/+0, has vigilance and trample. I love the idea of putting trample on Zurgo, so then I can trample over and it'll add to the commander damage pile, right? So I do like this card. And then whenever equipped creature dies, attach Forebear's Blade to target creature you control for free. There's other cards in the deck that help me equip for free. This is a good card, although I don't think it made the cut. So I'm going to put it down here. If it would have gave +4/+0, it would have been a totally different story, because then I can get to that magic number of 11 to give him double strike. But it's just not quite doing enough for me. So then we got the 2 swords that I'm not using in the deck, Sword of Body and Mind and Sword of Feast and Famine. Everybody knows what they do. Protection from green and blue, and then protection from black and green. And then whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you put a 2/2 green wolf token on the battlefield, and then that player puts the top 10 cards of their library into their graveyard. And then it's whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you untap all lands you control. Now, I do like the untapping all lands. Although I don't need infinite mana, it sure would be nice to double, triple spell, untap all my lands, play out a few more equipments, or play out a few more creatures. So Sword of Feast and Famine is like a really strong possible here. But I don't think it's going to make the cut, because I want to use it in another deck where I think it'll be better in another deck. But it was still a maybe card. Sword of Body and Mind doesn't really do as much for me. I'd said it's a no-go. So I'm going to put it down here with all these other ones, and Lotus Ring, and my 2 creature cards, Fervent Champion and Call the Forge Master didn't make the cut. So, and then we got Conqueror's Veil, which I also want to use in another deck. It's arguably a CEDH card in colors where you're not using white, because you can't throw silence effects on the stack. So equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature or each color among permanents you control. As long as Conqueror's Flail is attached to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. So that's great to try to keep them off of Zurgo, or using removal on Zurgo. But I really do feel like that's going to serve me a lot better in more of a competitive CEDH style build. So Sword of Feast and Famine and Conqueror's Flail, although they're great, fantastic cards, they didn't make the cut as well, because I want them for other decks. And then honorable mentions to Arm Mounted Anchor. So those cards didn't make the deck. The 3 cards that I did decide to choose to sub out for the infinite combo that was useless, creating infinite mana for no reason in Zurgo, is Cranial Plating, where equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. It equips for 1, so it plays for cheap, it equips for cheap. And then for 2 black, you can attach Cranial Plating to target creature you control at instant speed. So that gives it some different, like, flexible ability. And if I have a bunch of artifacts, which the deck has a shit ton of artifacts in it, then it gets huge. It scales with the growth of the amount of artifacts that I control. So it can give it +4, which gets Zurgo to the 11, and then swing out, give them double strike for the TKO ability. So that's why Cranial Plating did make the cut. There's another card in the deck that's just like Cranial Plating. We'll get to that here in a second. Then we got Champion's Helm. It's a 3-mana equipment that equips for 1. As long as equipped creature is legendary, it has hexproof. But it gives a equipped creature +2/+2. So it's just like a sword, except it equips for cheaper. And although, unlike Sword of Feast and Famine that untaps my mana, this gives my creature hexproof. Well, one of the biggest problems I've ran into in this Zurgo deck is that Zurgo himself, the big dumb orc, gets scary. And he threatens to kill people, often. So people use all their removal on him, and I often end up having to just replay him and replay him and replay him. But because he has haste, it's okay to replay him. So I think Champion's Helm works really good in the deck, and it gives hexproof. And notably, that's not Shroud, that's hexproof. Because with Shroud, you can't continue to equip. And with Sword of Feast and Famine, with protection from black, I can't then equip a creature with a black equipment. So that's another reason why I thought Champion's Helm was a better slot in the deck for this particular deck than Sword of Feast and Famine. So I went with Champion's Helm to help protect Zurgo. just one more piece to help protect him. And this card won over for flavor and power. So Dragon Throne of Tarkir, for 4 mana, it's a legendary artifact equipment where equipped creature has defender, and for 2 mana and tap it, other creatures you control get trample and get +X/+X till end of turn, where X is that creature's power, equipped for 3. Well, I have a lot of different ways to equip for free, but the idea is equip this to one of my support creatures and tap my support creature to give Zurgo +7/+7 and trample until end of turn. And it's flavorful because this came from the same set as Zurgo. It's from the first Tarkir set. Cannot wait for the next Tarkir set. It's going to be awesome. It's one of my favorite sets of all time. One of my favorite planes of all time. So I decided to throw the Dragon Throne of Tarkir in the deck for flavor and power reasons. So that's my 3 substitutions. And now that we have got that done and over with, the upgrade, we'll get right into the deck tech itself. Now, let's see. Okay, so as long as we got a good... So Zurgo himself, right? He's for 2, a red, a white, and a black. For a 7/2 legendary creature, Orc Warrior. He has haste. Zurgo Helmsmasher attacks each combat if able. So he's going to attack every turn if he can. Zurgo Helmsmasher has indestructible as long as it's my turn. So that gives him a lot of protection, all right? As long as it's my turn, he's protected. He is indestructible. He doesn't have hexproof, but that's the reason why I want to give him hexproof. And he's indestructible on my turn, and my turn only. So people can wait and use their instant speed removal at the end of another player's turn or something to target Zurgo, and they often will do that. So whenever a creature dealt damage by Zurgo Helmsmasher this turn dies, he gets a +1/+1 counter, a permanent +1/+1 counter. So that's Zurgo. We just went over Halvar, God of Battle, so we won't go over him. Stoneforge Mystic. Almost like an auto include, right? In any equipment style deck. It's a classic card, super powerful. For 1 and a white, it's a creature core cleric or core artificer. It's a 1/2. When Stoneforge Mystic enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So it's a tutor for artifacts. And then for 1 and a white, you can tap and you can put an equipment card from your hand onto the battlefield for like it's like a Piper ability on artifact support. So, great card. Core Blade Master. For 1 and a white, it's a core warrior. It's a 1/1 with double strike. Equipped creatures you control have double strike. So that's one of the main themes in the deck. I'm trying to get Zurgo through. I'm trying to give him double strike. I'm trying to kill with commander damage. And also, double strike double procs all the swords, because it's whenever you deal damage. So when you deal damage on first strike damage, it'll proc the sword. And then when the regular speed combat comes through and it deals damage again, it'll also proc the sword at that time. So, as you can see, you know, more staply equipment cards, and this guy is no different, right? Like he's a big deal in a lot of equipment decks. He's the head of a lot of equipment decks. He has partner, so you can partner him up with whoever, and whoever else has partner, and have him be the commander of your equipment deck. So I threw a lot of that stuff in here. So Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist. For 2 and a white, legendary creature core scout with partner, but notably he's in the 99. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can attach any number of auras and equipment you control to target permanent or player. So that's the idea. I can see using him in like a hex deck. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, so he just sits there and he helps me attach all my equipments and stuff. And he's not the only thing I've got that does that. So here we go. Goro, Disciple of Ryusai. For 1 and a red, I just think this guy's cool. And he gives like Lord of the Rings flavor. He's a goblin samurai, legendary creature. He's also legendary. There's a lot of legendaries in this. I could have put that one card in there that I forget what the name is. It's the other people use it a lot for their commander. It's a 5 or 6 drop knight where you get to draw cards for equipments, and this deck does struggle to draw, so maybe in the future that card will end up in this deck. I do have Sir Gwen, I think it's called, Sir Gwen. So I do have that card. But we're at Goro, Disciple of Ryusai. He's for 1 in red, legendary creature, Goblin Samurai. And Sir Gwen is not in the deck. So for 1 red, creatures you control gain haste till end of turn. And then for 3 and 2 red, create a 5/5 red dragon spirit creature token with flying. Activate only if you control an attacking modified creature, which I often do because it's an equipment deck. Kazul Toll Collector. For 2 and a red, it's an ogre warrior, and I think it kind of fits the whole Lord of the Rings theme as well because it's an ogre. It's a 3/2, where for 0, you can attach target equipment you control to Gazul Toll Collector. Activate this ability only anytime you cast a sorcery. So he can freely equip himself. Now, I love this art of this card, and it's such a good card. So, Jor-Kadeen, first Gold Warden. This is one of the Phyrexian alternate arts where in the story Jor-Kadeen didn't actually get completed, but this is like if he would have got completed, he would look like freaking Goro with 8 sword arms, and he's awesome looking. So for a red and a white, a legendary creature, human rebel, I can see using him as a commander for this type of deck. But he's a 2/2 with trample. Whenever Jor-Kadeen first Gold Warden attacks, it gets +X/+X till end of turn, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. Then if Jor-Kadeen's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. So, anything with draw in it's really good as commander. So this, I've seen people run this guy in a commander deck as well as the head of the commander of that deck. It's Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. For 2 and a red, you got a legendary creature, human shaman. So he's a 3/2, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, for each aura or equipment attached to Valduk, Keeper of the Flame, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token with trample and haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. So he's more of a aggro style equipment commander, but he goes great in the 99 in this deck. It allows pressure to be put on. He it takes removal. It's doing everything my deck wants to do. So Shram, Senior Artificer. Obviously this is an auto include alternate art like Masterpiece version for 1 and a white, not a foil though. Legendary creature, Dwarf Artificer. So it's just another dwarf. Obviously it goes with the theme. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. So as you can see, there's not a lot of cards. There's usually not. If you've ever built an equipment deck, there's usually not a lot of card draw, not a lot of ramp. You got to find unique, like original ways to try to do that, or else you're just going to have a hard time doing that. So Shram is usually an auto include. So for 1 and a red, we got Lizard Blades, an artifact creature equipment lizard. It has double strike. Equipped creature has double strike, and you can reconfigure for 2. So it's like an equip cost, and you can reconfigure and give your Zurgo double strike. So this is one of the like budget includes I added to the deck. Scourge of the Throne. For 4 and 2 red, it's a creature dragon with flying and dethrone. So whenever this creature attacks a player with the most life or tied for the most life, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever Scourge of the Throne attacks for the first time each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for the most life, untap all attacking creatures. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So I mentioned the idea of the deck is to kill with Zurgo. So if I can get multiple combats with Zurgo, give him double strike or not give him double strike and just boost him up, multiple combats is really good with the theme of the deck that I'm trying to do. So that's a budget way to do that. This is one of the recent includes for this deck. Scavenge Brawler for 6 mana. It's an artifact creature construct, a 4/4 with flying, vigilance, trample, and lifelink. For 5 colorless mana, you can exile Scavenge Brawler from your graveyard. Choose target creature, Zurgo. Put 4 +1/+1 counters, a flying counter, a vigilance counter, a trample counter, and a lifelink counter on that creature. Activate only as a sorcery. So that gets Zurgo up to his magic 11 number, so he can give him double strike and TKO people. Osgir, the Reconstructor, another fantastic commander for equipment decks. He's a fantastic support card for my equipment deck in the 99. For 2, a red and a white, he's a legendary creature, Giant Artificer with vigilance. For 1 mana, you can sacrifice an artifact. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I don't know if I mentioned he's a 4/4, but yeah, you can do that. You give creatures, you can give them +2/+0. So ideally, the way I would use that is if like Zurgo has a sword on him, and I want to give him 2 more to get him to 11, and there's another card on the field that can give him double strike. So that's why it's a really good ability. And then his X ability for X and tap, exile an artifact card with a mana value X from your graveyard, usually a sword. Create 2 tokens that are copies of the exiled card, activate only as a sorcery. So Zurgo can dual wield swords and come in with his 11 power and get all those triggers. Another fantastic commander for equipment decks. There's one that I didn't get to add in here that I really wish I could. And then there's Sir Gwen, which I do have, but I didn't add in here. I forget the name of the card that I want to add, that I didn't get to add, but it helps me draw. It's another creature that, you know, helps me draw with equipments. This one does as well. So for 1, a red and a white legendary creature core warrior, it's a 3/3. Whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. The other one's like draw a card for each equipment attached to that creature. So I'd have to throw a bunch of shit on that particular creature, but he's a core as well. And he's in Boros colors. So for 1 white, you may unattach an equipment from a creature you control. If you do, tap that creature, gains indestructible till end of turn. So not only do I get to draw cards, but I can use Akiri, the Fearless Voyager, to give me protection, which is much needed. And while we're talking about protection, give her runes for 1 white. It's a 1/2 core cleric. Just cores are just supporting the hell out of Zurgo. Another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice until end of turn. So great, fantastic piece of protection. This card is in there for flavor, and because I like him, I think he looks cool. Rook, Hex Gold Nabber, for 2 and a red. He's a legendary creature, Goblin Rebel, and he's got a mohawk and he looks cool. He's walking up with multiple swords in his hand. He's a 2/2 with trample and haste. Whenever equipped creature you control other than Rook, Hex Gold Nabber attacks or dies, you can attach all equipment attached to that creature to Rook. And he's just a cool little guy, you know. Combat Celebrant, again with the theme of extra combats, for 2 and a red, and I believe this is the Lord of the Rings art. Yeah, it's got an Aragorn quote at the bottom. So it's give it a little bit more Lord of the Rings flavor. It kind of fits on theme with what I'm trying to do with the deck. Combat Celebrant, for 2 and a red, it's a 4/1 human warrior. If Combat Celebrant hasn't been exerted this turn, you can exert it as it attacks. And then when you do, untap all the creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. An exerted creature won't untap during your next untap step. So, fantastic in this deck. Budget. Here we go, another legendary creature that helms a good commander deck. Astor, Bearer of Blades. He's a 4/4 legendary creature human warrior for 2, a red and a white. He's another good commander for equipment decks, so he made the list pretty easily. Whenever Astor, Bearer of Blades, enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal an equipment or vehicle card from among them, put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in random order. Equipments you control have equip 1. Vehicles you control have crew 1. Well, I don't crew vehicles. He kind of looks like a pirate, but he's not a pirate. If he was a pirate, I would have thought about adding that other card in there. But also, he has that real look that you might think warriors from Mardu or orcs from Sauron's army or something would look. So that's another reason why he made the deck, because not only is he great in equipments, but he has that flavor about him where he's got the gray skin and he kind of looks like an orc or an ogre, but he's just a dude. It's just a dude. This one's a newer addition to the deck. Barbed Servitor for 3 and a black. He is indestructible. He is a 1/1. Whenever Barbed Servitor enters the battlefield, suspect it. So I suspect it has menace in it and it can't block. But it doesn't matter because this deck really doesn't care so much about blocking. It cares about attacking. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card and you lose a life. Now you can equip him and avoid, right? So if he's like the only creature you got on the field, you can equip him, you can get him through, he has menace, you're going to draw a card and lose a life. But if he's dealt damage, target opponents will lose that much life. So they're incentivized not to block him. And if you buff him up, they're really incentivized not to block him with multiple creatures because you're killing off multiple creatures. Or, it's just, he's hard to block and he's indestructible. So he kind of goes with the theme of the deck as Zurgo's indestructible on my turn. And famously, Zurgo is a board wipe tribal deck. Now this particular version of Zurgo isn't board wipe tribal, but we'll get to that here in a second because after creatures, I believe, is board wipes. So indestructible is a thing I'm trying to do. There's only a few cards in the deck, but obviously Zurgo's indestructible, he's indestructible, and we're trying to wipe people's boards and then swing in with Zurgo. So Kellen the Fade-Blooded, awesome card for equipment decks for 2 and a red. Kellen's a legendary creature, human fairy. And for the sorcery side of it, he's got Birthright Boon. For 1 and a white, sorcery adventure, you can search your library for an aura or an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So he's got a equipment or a tutor effect, just like that other card I had earlier that can tutor for artifacts. And then he has Double Strike when you play him as a creature. So perfect, right? Give him a sword and let him go. Other creatures you control get +1/+0 for each aura and equipment attached to Kellen the Fade-Blooded. So if you can't get Zurgo out and they've already killed him a few times, or for whatever reason your mana screwed, Kellen is a really good backup plan, and he's kind of a lightning rod for removal as well. So great card for the deck. The classic Pure Steel Paladin for 2 white. It's a 2/2. Whenever equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you can draw a card. Much needed in this deck. And it's got Metalcraft. Equipment you control has equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. Give me a second. I gotta stop my automatic regen again. All right, I'm back at it. We got another dwarf for flavor and for other reasons. He's another legendary creature, so it's kind of like I thought about throwing even what's her name, W.a.D in here, just because it's almost legendary tribal, but not really. So W.a.D didn't make the list either. She'd give me ramp and she'd help me go through the deck, but she didn't make the list. So Riav, Master Smith, for a red and a white. Legendary creature, Dwarf Artificer. Whenever a creature you control that's enchanted or equipped attacks, that creature gets double strike. So that's like the third way. And then obviously for flavor, right? Because I tried to go a certain direction with it, and I could take a few of these cards out and switch it up and put Sir Gwen in there if I wanted. I could switch it up and put, you know, some other cards in there, a couple other swords in there, or that chick I just talked about, that Planeswalker chick, if I really wanted to, W.a.D. But this deck has a Lord of the Rings flavor to it, so I went with Witch King of Angmar. For 3 and 2 black, it's a legendary creature. Legendary matters, but not really. Wrath Noble. It's a 5/3 flyer, where whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage to you, each opponent sacrifices a creature that dealt combat damage to you this turn. The ring tempts you. The ring tempting me is a secondary effect. If he's out and the ring tempts me a few times, it can give me a bonus because of the ring abilities. It gives them like skulk and stuff, so it can make a creature harder to block and help me draw and discard, this type of thing. But really, the main reason why he's in the deck is not just for Lord of the Rings flavor, but for the discard a card, Witch King of Angmar gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. So that's it for the creature suite of the deck. And we're going to get into the spells and equipment suite. And we already talked about the Dragon Throne, the Champion's Helm, and the Cranial Plating that just made the deck. So we'll get into the spells. Like I said, this deck is usually a board wipe tribal deck, but this version isn't. However, there's like 5 of them in here, so we'll get to it. Austere Command. I wanted to throw these in there because it's got the bobbleheads on it, and I like the flavor of Zurgo, Wreck Face, and wandering through the battlefield, and he finds these bobbleheads and he likes them and he wants to pick them up and carry them around with him or whatever. So I like the flavor of this particular Austere Command. And like I said, I threw the talismans in here as well because the Ragnarok comic. I also like the idea of Zurgos wandering around doing his thing, and he stumbles upon this comic book and he wants to sit down and read it because it's about a barbarian. So then he looks around and he's looking for other magazines, and you know, so I like it. So Austere Command for 4 and 2 white, flavorful board wipe. Sorcery, choose 2, destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, destroy all creatures with mana value 3 or less, so it can be one-sided, or destroy all creatures with mana value 4 or greater. And then we got a classic Wrath of God, destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. Then we got the Ruinous Ultimatum, one-sided board wipe for Mardu for 7 mana total. Red, red, white, 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 black, black. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control, so the one-sided board wipe. And then Cleansing Nova for 3 and 2 white. Choose 1, destroy all creatures, or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. And then the last one's Damnation for 2 and 2 black, destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. So it's got a nice, well-rounded board wipe suite where I'm trying to destroy creatures. I'm trying to keep my indestructible creatures on the field to give me the advantage for that. Now, there's not a lot of ramp in this deck either, but we're going to get through it because it's an equipment deck. It's got to be artifact ramp because it adds to my artifact count, adds to my Metalcraft, it adds to my Cranial Plating, and the other card that's like Cranial Plating. So Arcane Signet for 2, right? Classic. The Talisman, the Ragnarok comic, you know, so it's just the art. That's the reason why I picked it. Obviously Soul Ring, and then the other Talisman of Indulgence from Fallout, and then a Mind Stone because the deck struggles to draw. So we got a Mind Stone in there. And then we got a Talisman of Hierarchy. Because, you know, Tales of a Jerktown Jerky Vendor, right? So I also like the flavor in this one. It says suit up for success, right? On the magazine, suit up for success. That's what Zurgo's trying to do. He's trying to suit up and boot up, baby. Let's go. So Talisman of Hierarchy. Here we go. This is kind of one of my little ramp pieces in the deck. Forging of the Tyrite Sword. So it's doing multiple things for me. It's a Saga, Enchantment Saga. It's creating a treasure token twice for me. That helps me ramp a little bit. It fixes my colors. And then on the third chapter, you search your library for a card named Halver, God of Battle, or an equipment card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Halver gives me double strike for all my equipped creatures, or I can flip it to return and he can be another equipment. So this card's really kind of doing everything for me in this deck that I need it to do. And now we're going to get into, this is like the removal suite, or the removal suite, or like the, you know, the respond on the stack type of suite. I put Utter End in there because it has Zurgo on the art. Now I know it's not like the most it's kind of outclassed a little bit. It's not like the most efficient removal spell, but it does exile, and it's got Zurgo on the art, and it says, I come seeking a challenge and all I found was you. So I love the flavor text because, you know, I can cast that and have that whole attitude of a warrior or an orc on the field. Big dumb orcs doing big dumb things. I'm swinging in, I'm looking for a challenge, I'm about that fucking life and about that business, and I'm coming in and I'm trying to fuck shit up. So I like it. I like the flavor, I like the art. Fracture for a white and a black, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. So, you know, I need to be able to respond to stuff. I need to have some kind of removal, enchantment and artifact removal, or planeswalker removal. It's all going to help this deck in the long run. Now, Sajiri Shelter for 1 and a white is an instant. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice till end of turn. So it gives me a protection like the Giver of Runes to answer some sort of removal or something like that. Or it can, you know, double up as a land. And the deck doesn't have a whole lot of ramp in it either because it's an equipment deck. So if I need it for the land, the MDFC is nice. So that card made the cut. Steel Shaper's Gift for 1 white. It's a sorcery. It's a tutor. Search your library for an equipment card. Reveal that card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it goes right into your hand. Tutor card. The best removal in Magic, you know, 1-drop removal, Swords to Plowshares. I got to put it in there because it's Swords to Plowshares. For 1 white, exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to the power. The arc of my blade has carved a path, the light for the peace that will follow. So I like the flavor text. I like the card. It's good removal, fits the theme, fits the flavor. This card's just a combat trick, but it works really, really good in the deck because the idea is to, you know, buff up Zurgo, give him double strike. Well, this doesn't give him double strike, but it doubles his power until end of turn. So I can then, like, give him double strike, and people are like, oh, well, I can take 1 hit from Zurgo because he's got double strike, so that's not going to kill me, but it's going to do 14 damage. And then when they let the hit through, I can Unleash Fury and TKO. So I really like the card in the deck. I think it's great. And then one of the more efficient removal spells in this color pairing, in this color wedge, for 1, a white and a black, it's an instant. Anguished on Making, exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. Great card, can target anything. So that's my removal suite and my responses. And then we'll get to the equipment's in the deck, and we'll just shuffle through the first 3, the Dragon Throne, the Champion's Helm, and the Cranial Plating, so we already talked about it. So, Sword of Sinew and Steel for 3 mana. It's a Sword of Artifact Equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 as protection from black and red. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy up to 1 target Planeswalker and up to 1 target artifact. So it's giving me artifact removal or Planeswalker removal. The deck doesn't have that much removal, but I need some kind of interaction in the deck, so it helps me do that, and it's a Sword of, and it gives me protection from black and red, which are arguably the most predominant removal colors, or that Zurgo is worried about anyway, with a 2 toughness. Then we got probably the best sword in this deck, Sword of Fire and Ice for 3 mana. It's a Sword of. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 as protection from red and blue. you know, which also helps from removal, helps from bounce spells and things like that. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, Sword of Fire and Ice deals 2 damage to target creature or player. Gives me a little extra like lightning rod removal, and I draw a card, so it gives me some much needed draw, and it equips for 2 obviously. This is the other card. It's like Cranial Plating, Cranial Ram. It's the Phyrexian version of it that was, I think, banned in Pauper, like right away, like emergency banned in Pauper. For a black and a red, it's an artifact equipment that has a living weapon. So when you when the equipment enters, you create a 0/0 black Phyrexian germ, and then attach this to it. An equipped creature gets +X+1, where X is the number of artifacts you control. So it's the same thing as Cranial Plating, but it's put on a germ, and it gives it +X+1 instead of +X+0, so the germ doesn't die right away. Great card though. Hammer of Nazan. This is a fantastic card in this deck. For 4 mana, it's a legendary artifact equipment. Whenever Hammer of Nazan or another equipment enters the battlefield under my control, you may attach that equipment to target creature you control for free. And an equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has indestructible. So I don't just want indestructible on my turn, I want indestructible all the time. So it's much easier to remove my guy, and Hammer of Nazan does that for me. And it gives it the +2 I need, so if I give it the Hammer of Nazan and the sword, then he can get double strike and then swing in for the TKO. Swiftfoot Boots. Notably, for 2 mana, equips for 1. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. I didn't put Lightning Greaves in this deck because Lightning Greaves gives Shroud. Equips for 0, it's more efficient, but I want hexproof because the idea of equipping equipment to creatures, you're actually targeting that creature to equip. So if you have Lightning Greaves on the creature and you want to re-equip, you have to unattach the Lightning Greaves and then reattach all your other weapons and then reattach the Lightning Greaves, which gives your opponents that opportunity to target your creature while the Lightning Greaves aren't on the creature. So that's why I notably chose Swiftfoot Boots, because it gets hexproof, and if once I have it equipped to Zurgo and Zurgo has hexproof, I don't have to remove the card, and it gives my opponents no moment of opportunity to remove the Zurgo. All That Glitters. This is like a super stapley card in any Voltron deck, because equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. That includes lands, that includes mana rocks, and it just buffs the hell out of anybody I got it on. Super good card. So another Sword of War and Peace made the deck. For 3 mana, it gives creature +2/+2, and it gives protection from red and from white. Scared of red, he's scared of Sword of Plowshares, Path to Exiles, so it gives protection from white. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, Sword of War and Peace deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in his or her hand. You gain 1 life for each card in your hand. Notably, like I said before, if a creature has double strike, it double procs a Sword of, which is really good with Sword of War and Peace. And I also want to mention with Sword of War and Peace, now before we get to the Pip-Boy, with Sword of War and Peace, with the new Captain America Secret Lair, they reskinned the Sword of War and Peace and made it the Sword of, or the Shield of War and Peace, right? And it has the same text, but it gives protection from red and from white. So with protection from red and from white, and you're trying to equip other cards, like it's kind of like a Nombo with I forget who talked. I think it was the professor talked about it, how it was like kind of a flavor fail. They should have probably picked a different Sword of to reskin, even though War and Peace probably should have picked like Truth and Justice. Even though War and Peace kind of fits the flavor, I think Truth and Justice probably would have been as good as well, because then it wouldn't have non-bowed with the Sigardus Aid, because the Sigardus Aid, I believe, targets. So we'll go down here, and I'll actually skip down to Sigardus Aid and talk about it now. The deck does have Sigardus Aid in it. For 1 white, you may cast or equipment spells as though they had flash. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach it to target creature you control. So it's targeting. So because it's targeting, if it's got Sword of War and Peace, you can't use Captain America's Aid or whatever to equip Shield of War and Peace with the Sigardus Aid in the deck. That's what makes it kind of a Nombo. I did also, obviously throw Forge Anew in there before we get through the rest of the artifacts. For 2 and a white, it's an enchantment. When Forge Anew enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Obviously, it's a Lord of the Rings card. Adds to that flavor. And As long as it's your turn, you may activate equip abilities anytime. You can cast an instant, so it's sorcerer speed, you can equip, and then you can play 0 rather than pay equip cost for the first equipment ability you activate during each of your turns. But when I have multiple versions of these things on the field, it doesn't really matter, and I can just throw swords and shit back and forth at instant speed, and it fucks everybody up. So the Pip-Boy, get back into the Fallout flavor of Zurgo rolling around with a fucking Pip-Boy on for 1 mana. Artifact equipment. I love this card. Equip creature. Whenever equipped creature attacks, choose one. You can sort inventory, draw a card, then discard a card. Pick a perk, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature, which is awesome with Zurgo, because if they block him, he gets a +1/+1 counter, which gives him the 2 threshold, so you can give him a sword, and he's at the 11th threshold. And then you can check map, untap up to 2 target lands, equipped for 2. Now, the check map is actually pretty good. It's like deceptively good in this deck, because if I'm untapping 2 lands, I can then use those 2 lands to play another like 2-drop creature or 2-drop equipment, and it's good. Vorpal Sword. I threw this in the deck for flavor because I like the idea of using another creature. Like they spent all their resources to get rid of Zurgo. It's later in the game. I can't really recast Zurgo, but I can equip the Vorpal Sword and use its ability to cut somebody's head off. And so they'll just read Vorpal Sword for 1 black. It's an artifact equipment. The equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has Death Touch. So he gives Death Touch. It gives +2, which is what I'm trying to do with the sword. Give him a sword in each hand, and he gets Death Touch. And then for 5 and 3 black, until end of turn, Vorpal Sword gains whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So if they spend all their resources getting rid of Zurgo, then I can equip another creature with the Vorpal Sword, and then if I can get him to get through, I can activate that ability and kill somebody. So it's a great card in the deck. Mask of Memory. I put this in here because it gives me card draw for 2 mana. It equips for cheap. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a card. So unlike the other one where I'm drawing 2, discarding 2, Mask of Memory is probably just better for this deck, because I don't have pirates. And then another Sword of Forge and Frontier. 3 mana Sword of. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has protection from red and from green. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 2 cards of your library. So impulse draw. You may play those cards this turn. You may play an additional land this turn. So it gives me ramp. It gives me impulse draw. It's kind of doing everything I needed to do. Another Sword of really helps me out in the deck. More Lord of the Rings flavor. Now I want the Morgul Blade, which I think is Shadow Spear reskinned, but I don't have that art, so it didn't make the deck. And if I can acquire it, I will find a way to fit it in here. I don't know what I'll take out, but I will find a way to fit it in here. So the Nazgul Battle Mace for 5 mana. It's an artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature has Menace, Death Touch, Annihilator 1, and whenever opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control unless the player pays 3 life. So I just really like the card. I really like the art. I really like the flavor. It adds to the Lord of the Rings feel, and you're just giving Zurgo a Nazgul Battle Mace. So awesome, right? And it helps him get through. Menace, Death Touch, Annihilator 1. Awesome card. Another Sword of Hearth and Home. 3 mana Sword of. Equipped creature gets +2/+2. It has protection from green and white, just like all the other ones, but protected from green and white. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target creature you own. Then search your library for a basic land card. Put both cards onto the battlefield under your control. Then shuffle. So it blinks. Now I don't think there's many when this thing ETBs effects in the deck, but it allows me to search for land, so it helps ramp me. That's why it's in here. Argentum Armor, classic, staple. If you can equip it for free or cheat it out, it's great. Equipped creature gets +6/+6. Whenever equipped creature attacks, destroy target permanent. The more of the high end, we got the Ember Cleave. So for 6 mana, legendary artifact equipment. It's just another sword, but a sweet one. It has flash, and that costs 1 less for each attacking creature I control. When Ember Cleave enters the battlefield, attach to target creature you control. And equipped creature gets +1/+1, does double strike and trample. So it's kind of doing everything I want it to do, and it's a sneaky kind of combat trick. This is another kind of sneaky kind of combat trick for 3 mana, and it's got Lord of the Rings flavor. Mithril Coat. A legendary artifact equipment with flash and indestructible. When a mithril coat enters the battlefield, attach it to target legendary creature you control, just straight up. So you won't have to pay the equip cost. Equip creature as indestructible. So I can give it to any of my creatures. It's whoever is suited and booted at the time, ready to go. That's who's probably going to get it, because that's who's going to take the removal. But if I give it to Zurgo, now he's indestructible at all times instead of just on my turn. So it's flavorful. It's doing what I want it to do. Another Lord of the Rings card, Lorien Brooch, which is just a reskinned Trailblazers boots. So for 2 mana, equip creature has non-basic land walk, which, let's face it, Commander, that means he's unblockable. Equip for 2. So I do also want to, now that I've went through the whole thing, I do also want to just briefly go through the lands, because the lands add extra utility to the deck. And normally budget land bases don't do a whole lot, but this land base is doing a little bit more, and there's some flavor. So I'm not going to go talk about the snarls. I've got all the bridges in here, which are artifact lands. They are also indestructible, so in the event someone wants to do something stupid like an Armageddon, I'm going to have some lands that might still be out there. And with the theme of indestructible, I like the idea. I like the fact that it's an artifact. It can turn on, it can help turn on the cranial platings and all these other effects to add for the artifact count. And it can turn on, what's the ability? Metalcraft. So it can help me turn on the Metalcraft, and it can help me add to my artifact count for all that glitters and cranial plating and Metalcraft. This card is just fantastic. Shizo Death Storehouse. It's a legendary land that just taps for black, comes in untapped. And then for 1 black and tap it, target legendary creature gains fear until end of turn. Which means it can be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. So that generally just makes Zurgo indestructible. And then, we got another bridge, command tower, obviously, some shrines. You got good lands in this deck. So Buried Ruin, that's kind of a nice little utility land in this deck. For 2, you can sacrifice Buried Ruin, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. So nice little utility in this particular deck. Here's another big piece here, the Black Gate, right? So the Black Gate, it's flavorful. It's got Lord of the Rings flavor on it. The Black Gate enters the battlefield if you pay 3 life. It enters the battlefield. You pay 3 life. Oh, that's worded weird. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. So you pay 3 life, comes in untapped. You tap to add for a black. And for 1 and a black and tap it, choose a player with the most life or tied for the most life. Target creature can't be blocked by creatures that player controls this turn. So it makes whoever has the most life can't block. So it's going to make them unblockable. And if I can pump them up and give them double strike, it's just going to be, game over. And most life or tied for the most life. So usually, even if I'm down to like 1 or 2 people, everybody has more life than me, because Zurgo's a threat. He's scary. Once he gets going, he's a threat. And this deck only requires like 5 mana to get going. So the Black Gate's a great card, very flavorful in the deck. And then Battlefield Forge. It's just in there. It's a pain land, but it's in there because it has flavor. I really like the black and white lands, especially for this deck. The Surveil land. I did throw a couple Lord of the Rings basics in here for flavor. A Bonder's Enclave is in here. Nice little utility. Helps me draw. The drawing's hard for me to do in the deck. Draw a card. Activate only if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, which my commander's power 7. Sunhome Fortress gives creatures double strike. Some more utility. Blood Crypt. Black and white land. Pain lands. Another Triome. Another Lord of the Rings land for flavor. Another bridge. And then a Rogue's Passage. Now I probably should have put the Lord of the Rings Rogue's Passage in here. That's got the, what's it got? That's got the little houses or whatever, right? From where the hobbits are from. It's got a little hobbit house on it. But I look at it and it does fit the theme because it's Lord of the Rings, but I can't really see Zurgo's big giant ass hiding in a little hobbit hole. I just can't see it. So I think that's why I took it out. I have it. I do have that art, but I was just like, it doesn't really go in. So I put the regular Rogue's Passage in here. Makes him unblockable. And then just the rest of the little budget land suite. Got Surveil lands, I've got shock lands, I've got, you know, luxury suite in there. So it's actually a good little land suite, and it's got some extra flavor. I thought about putting Mountain Doom in here, but I've only got a couple copies of Mountain Doom, and I've got better uses of Mountain Doom. So Mountain Doom's going in decks that fit those decks a little better. And that is Zurgo the Helmsmasher with Lord of the Rings and Fallout flavor. I hope you guys like the deck. I hope you like the deck tech. I enjoyed doing them. I enjoyed going through the deck while I was watching the World Championships in Vegas online. I'm going to get back to that here in a second, but I enjoyed doing it. This time I was able to find, you know, my upgrades as I was going through the deck when I was thinking about how I was going to explain it and look through the deck so I could talk about the play lines. So 2 birds in 1 stone. I enjoy doing the videos. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you have anything to say, let me know. If you have any advice or any additions or anything like that that might add extra flavor other than the Shadow Spear Morgul Blade art and maybe Sir Gwen, or what was the other card? The Planeswalker, I forget her name all the time. But you know, if you can give me reasons why those cards should go in the deck or whatever, feel free to say something about it, and maybe I'll try it out. But this has been W.A.D. MTG. I'm Mr. J. Peace out. See y'all next time.